getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series on Slow Motion Broadcasting. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call alongside Andre Dirk Grandbouche and tonight's producer, Joshua Wilkie. And as this brand new season rolls on, week 4 takes us to Austria and the Red Bull Ring. This track is located in Spielberg in the Styrian Mountains of Austria. Racing began in 1969 at the old Österreichring, longtime site of the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix. The current facility opened in 2011 after being dormant for several years, and of course it's current host to the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix and a whole lot of motorcycle racing. Today's configuration: 4.3 clicks, 2.7 miles, 10 turns. Carlos Sainz owns the current record, 105.619, set that in a McLaren back in 2020. So, Andre, I've got a lot of seat time out here in open wheelers, prototypes, and GT3s, and I gotta say, this track was designed for and really favors cars with a little bit of downforce, and driving around here in a GT3 makes those cars feel overweight and clumsy, and I'm thinking that these Mustangs are going to be a handful out here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something for these guys to try to navigate with the weather that is inbound. And This racetrack in general, just very fast, very simple layout, and I think sometimes the simple layouts are the most technical ones because they don't really permit you to make any mistakes. Everybody's going to be going so fast, and they're going to be so consistent that if you do slip up, well, you're going to lose some time there. So, interesting track. I always love this section in particular that we're following Mark Cohn go through that downhill right-hander final turn. Bit of a tricky part of the track. You've really got to get on the binders there. It's very easy to overdrive, but also don't want to use up too much of the curb. So fun track, fun car. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and easy to overslow right there, among other places. And you're absolutely right about those last couple of corners, turn 9 and turn 10 coming onto the pit straight. Require a lot of precision. Really easy to overslow right there. It's hard to kind of think of these cars as momentum cars, but this track turns any car into a momentum car because you got to be super precise on turn in, commit to your line, and not overslow. And of course, that 9-10 combination that you were just talking about is one of those spots for sure.
Pit road also just a little bit tricky because it is right in the midst of that 9 and 10 complex that they're working through. So definitely a lot of things for these guys to think about. But I think the other part of this track that I love so much is also coincidentally coming up this double left-hander. You can carry so much speed through this section of the track. If you get it just right, you can see him get on the binders, blow it up, but he's trying to carry all that speed down low. He's going to arc it way out. The wider he works it out here, the more he can apex this corner right here, and you're going to see some overtakes right there. You're going to see some mistakes made right there. So just a fun track. Red Bull Ring, an absolute classic. Taking a look at hand work, and he is going to be maybe a little bit steadier on the wheel now than when the rain hits a little bit later, but still in the midst of qualifying. These guys are going to have an opportunity for about 3 laps. I got to tell you, JR, I think qualifying is going to be pretty important today. It's going to be, if the weather hits and it hits early, you don't want to be midfield. You want to be where it's safe, where there's less cars. You don't want to be in the cluster. So these guys probably working a little bit harder towards qualifying than normal. Currently, Matt Malone, to the surprise of nobody, jumps up to the top of the board, 148.6, but Fabian Zweier in the number 2 going to dethrone him. So a lot of first lap times coming through. Currently, first among the challengers, Dehano to himself, Dan Ott, P7, 149.2 to the pole sitters, 148.3. They are all coming in, lap times just flying on the board.
Yeah, and I think you're right about quality, especially with the forecast that we're looking at here. And, so many challenges on this track on the best day. See a little quick opposite lock there by Ballant as he works his way through turn 10. But there are vision problems. These cars, no ABS, of course. So any kind of dives, there are a number of corners on this track that invite kind of late braking maneuvers. A little tougher to do on a wet track. So I think qualifying going to be absolutely critical here. And riding along right now at Aaron Bray, and you're right about this corner right here, and you see some significant puddling there on the inside. But that corner, that's turn 7, is the key to this whole sequence. If you overcook the entry and are late on the throttle right there, you're actually absolutely going to get smoked in the following couple of corners. But looks like we've got some season points. Josh, is that what you Oh, gotcha. All right. So Josh is telling me in my ear here that Aaron Bray, who we're watching out on track in that 163 red Mustang, is the points keeper here for American Muscle Series. So shout out to him for putting the spreadsheets together and providing the points for us each week. But we'll go ahead and get those going. We'll start with the pro standings, and you see Barrios from Malone from Parrish is your podium, and notably Parrish dropping from P1 as Barrios and Malone have both strung together a number of pretty good races there, and Parrish had been in the lead the beginning part of the season, and now getting some serious challenge, and you see a little cluster up top. In fact, Barrios and Malone tied, actually. That's probably tied for P1, and then Parrish in third. David Finch sniffing around there very close behind with 150, and then Bast as well, followed by Fernandez, Labano, Kemp, Schnackle, and Fabian Zweyer will get you to the top 10. Then it's Wolf, Ballant, Bailing, Brendan, Moore, Ott, and Phil Keck in P17 there. And we'll take a look at the challengers as well. And we talked about Mark Cohn a little bit last week. It's Thompson from Cohn, from Weaver on the podium, and Cohn finally breaks into the top 3 after a rough first couple of races, has managed to string together a couple of good performances. So Cohn, plenty of time left in the season. Cohn putting something together here, and he is going to be somebody you want to keep an eye on down the stretch. But then we have Powell, Gazinda, Sancinelli, Andrus, Blair, Smith, and Kennedy will get you to the top 10. Then it's Hosea, Royce, Nickum, Gabaldon, which I'm probably saying wrong, Aaron Bray, and Kevin Berg in 15 and 16. And then take a quick look at the M's. It's Sacchetti, Brooks, and Olsen, your podium. No changes there. Those 3 pretty locked in, especially Sacchetti. You got comfortable, almost 30-point lead there in P1. Then it's Bell and Kosek through the top 5. Eschman, Want, Besnard, Casey, and Brandon Carl rounding out the top 10 there in the AM class. But qualifying winding down here, looks like. We've got about 2 minutes remaining, so some last laps underway right now. And currently it's Zweyer from Schnackle from Ballant for the overall podium to start for the starting grid. Then in the challengers, it's Hosey from Thompson, from Dan Ott, and then usual suspects. I see Sacchetti there in P1. That's P14 overall, P1 and AM. Freddie Weaver pretty well behind Sacchetti there. Well, about 7/10, I guess, back in P22. And then Andy Bell will be your P3 starter as things stand right now in the amateur class. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. As I said, it's this track is a little bit of a thorn in my side as a GT3 driver, because the GT3s just feel a little cumbersome out here, especially after you've driven a Formula car out here. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers handle this, especially with weather. You see some moisture on the track, a lot of heavy braking zones, a lot of acceleration onto slow corners. So we saw some of that in car with the fast hands of Opposite Lock going to work, and that we're going to be seeing a lot more of that tonight.
I'll tell you, there is something about Fabian Zweyer in the rain. He was the driver who made that miraculous miss at Road Atlanta last time we did a rain race here in this league. I think it became a highlight on the channel when he just barely was able to avoid a pile-up, swerved out of the way in the wet. Nobody could figure out how he did it, but it seems like a bit of a damp track is where Fabian Zweyer likes to be as qualifying winds down. It looks like he is pretty securely on the pole by a few tenths. And curious to see if he can maybe get a breakout win tonight, turn this season around. A few seconds to the line. Is he going to make it? No, he will not. It's going to be close, but he's not quite going to make it there, and that is it. So qualifying locked in. We'll go ahead and take a look at the final qualifying results, so you know where your favorite driver may or may not be rolling off here at the Red Bull Ring. Fabian Zweyer, as mentioned, on pole in that number 2 machine with a pretty good margin, 3/10 over Jeff Schnackle in P2. Row 2 going to be Taylor Gallant in 3rd, David Fernandez in 4th. 5 and 6 going to Charlie Hosey and Ron Wolf. Charlie Hosey, the highest qualifying challenger. Matt Malone sat on the pole for a moment, but dropped down to P7 with Jay Bass to his outside P8. Bring out the top 10, going to be Matt Thompson and David Finch.
Alrighty, and that will be followed by Bailing and Gabaldon there. I've not said that name the same way twice. That's for a 6. Then it's Dan Ott next to Joe Sacchetti, then Labano next to Neil Kemp. Powell line up next to Mark Cohn, and Jeff Andrus next to Sancinelli, which will get you to P20.
Outside of the top 20, you got Brian Kennedy in the 111, and then you got Freddie Weaver to his outside in that amateur class. Mike Neekum of Peanut Stuff, one of the league sponsors, and of course league admin, going to be P23. Matthew Gazinda going to be P24. 25th goes to Mark Royce, and if you look back to 26, that's where you're going to find Michael Brennan. Brendan Smith going to be P27, Andy Bell 28. P29, Dave Blair. Around P30 is where you're going to see Andy Kosick. Just round out the rest of the field, Aaron That Face Spray, P31, Colin E. Olson, 32, Merle Eshman, 33, John Casey, 34, Brandon Carl, 35, Scott Brooks, 36. Now, is that shotgun on the field? No, it's not. We got two more. We're not going to forget them. Tom Went to 37th, and Kevin Parrish, current points, was a points leader. At 1 point, going to be P38.
Yeah, and here we go. You see the rain, the windshield wipers on, the lights on, the rain coming down sideways here in Austria. Rain, the great equalizer at many tracks, and Red Bull Ring, a huge challenge, even in the best of times. And here we go. Pretty good looking start here. A little bit of peaking back and forth, but a little bit of wiggling from the back end of these Mustangs. But it looks like the driver on the inside there, Schnackle, able to take advantage of that inside position despite Swayer pulling that pole position. Schnackle able to take advantage of that position, and a little bit of a disadvantage there was Swayer not able to get that car off the line. Schnackle taking advantage, and Schnackle is going to be schnacking on P1 as we head down the hill into that very difficult uphill left-hander, turn 3. This is, and man, oh man, if you're collecting body panels, that might be a place to hang out tonight. I'm imagining we could see some contact right there, Andre.
I feel like I'm watching Initial D as they come through this corner. They're all sliding a little bit, but they're keeping it under control for the most part. And, you know, we've done some rain races here in AMS. I cannot recall if we ever started a race in the rain. Either way, starting in these conditions and having basically no turn 1 incident is wildly impressive for a field this size, and it has been a great start. Now riding on board with the STP machine, and a little bit of a nudge to the quarter panel, more of a nudge to the quarter panel. We caught that live scenes. He is going the wrong way. Ricky Bobby put it in drive. Nope, he is just taking the Alt F4 back to pit road. There is going to be several cars piled up back there, JR.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at my timing tower here. It's a couple cars dropping like stones here, and I think that was Nickum that we were showing the onboard in the 157 car, and Nickum getting camera shy there, just as we were talking about the clean start. Things going south, they're in a hurry, and meanwhile up front is Schnackle from Swayer, from Ron Wolf, and Schnackle maintaining a fairly good gap behind as he's beginning to drive away. And man, after that qualifying, it sure looked like Swayer maybe had the keys to a wet Red Bull Ring, but Schnackle showing that's not necessarily the case. Little 3 wide action there on that exit. That looked like the exit of turn 3 there. And like we said, it's when it is bone dry, it is tough to get traction down with traction control going up that hill, and these Mustangs don't have that. Plus, we are in the rain, so very, very challenging conditions. Every possible curveball being thrown at these drivers here tonight, and I got to say they're performing really well so far. And here is Swayer looking ahead at Schnackle. You see that quick opposite lock to keep that Mustang in between the white lines as they go up that hill out of turn 3.
It's keeping it close. 2/10 is the difference, working their way down into this sort of pseudo double right-hander. It really kind of drives like one corner, but down into the turn, I guess it technically is one corner, but it kind of separates. And big counter steer there. That's what's going to cost him time, as third place. He'll be breathing down his neck here, trying to figure out how can I get around. You do not want to let Schnackle get away. And I'll tell you, Jeff has the best advantage out of anybody in this entire field because he doesn't have any spray. There's no visibility issues. There's no cars in front of him. He's got open track. He's barely got to worry about anything, and that is a great thing to have. Now, the 117 got off track for just a moment there. I believe that is the second time we've seen Brian Kennedy. I'm sorry, the 111. Apparently, I am dyslexic. He has gotten off the track a couple times back in P24, but I'll tell you what, in these conditions, in this car, I'd probably be off the track 4 or 5 times by now, so still doing pretty good. Aaron That Face Spray, resident lead bookkeeper, P23 in the middle of this sandwich cookie, and a little bit of a nudge. He's getting impatient. It's going to check him up. 2 cars go by on the outside. That's never fun scenes.
Wow, and just that brief little kiss cost a couple positions there. These Mustangs run close. They're running nose to tail, as you can see on our timing tower there. Each of those colored intervals are intervals less than 1 second. The amber, of course, under 0.5. The yellow between 0.5 and 1 second. So despite the challenging conditions out here, a very competitive, well-matched field, and cars still running nose to tail here with about 4 minutes down and 35 to go. And should have mentioned earlier, Andre, this was on the schedule for a fuel limited race. However, the last fuel limited race we saw, we did see one driver, I think, out of the field, managed to go flag to flag without a pit stop. And that is something that rain, I think, can impact. I think cars tend to have a lower burn rate in these kind of conditions, and makes me wonder if we're going to see more attempts to avoid the pit stop here. But and a couple of hard chargers too I wanted to mention. We got Andrew Belling. Shout out to him. He's up 6 positions to push his way from P11 all the way into the top 5. So I drive in real life out here in the Pacific Northwest, and we always say that rain is the great equalizer and can really separate the folks who have put their rain preparation in, and we're seeing a little bit of that now.
He's going to take a look at the replay for the pass for the lead. It was just a bit of a wiggle out of Jeff Schnackle, and to the outside went Fabian Zweier. Took really good advantage of that right there, kind of pulling alongside, and I think Jeff Schnackle was kind of being nice to him, letting him get in line there. But a big moment for Ballant getting sideways, showing the car control as he brought that thing back around. And yet another replay. What is going on back here? Is it Ballant again? Yes, sir. Maybe just an overslow. I think that might have flagged the system. Didn't quite have any issues there. But either way, having some fun slip sliding around on the track. And you're exactly right, JR, about the fuel usage. When it's raining like this, obviously, you're not going to be on the throttle so much. You're going to be lifting earlier into the corners. You're going to be rolling into the throttle extremely cautiously. And in Taylor Ballant's case, you're going to be over the curb half throttle. And in that case, you're not really burning a whole lot of fuel.
Yeah, and we're running through our replay here to try to find out what happened to Ballant there. And Ballant, on my timing tower, currently running in P34. And I'm not that good at math, but it sounds like he's lost about 31 positions from his P3 qualifying. So Ballant's race not going particularly well right now. And, there's so much action out here, folks. I think we've probably missed one or two things. I'm seeing some body damage on a few of these cars and a little bit of drifting right there. Oh, my goodness. Manages to take advantage of the large runoff right there. He's lucky there wasn't a barrier right there. But speaking of driving in the Pacific Northwest, we learned early in our driving careers at Portland International Raceway that painted curb, the white and red painted curb, is as slippery as ice. You cannot touch that. And that's definitely changing the driving line and changing the track limits here at Red Bull Ring on a dry day. A lot of racing happens outside the white lines, but in these kind of conditions, I have a feeling they're going to be avoiding those curbs like the plague.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. When your steer tires get up on that curb, there's a big moment out of Charlie Hosey there. You kind of just lose all steering. The car just gets away from you. Big wiggle there. Again, that's going to open the door for David Finch down on the bottom groove. And given the next corner is a kind of hairpin right-hander, I think Finch is going to get him easily through this section. David Finch having a really, really good season so far. Heck of a run last week. Looking to capitalize with yet another top 10. Maybe better if he can continue to work his way through the field. Still early in this race, so plenty of time to work up through, but either way, these guys all finding their own way to deal with this rain, and it is going to be interesting. I'm going to, going back to the fuel saving thing, JR, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say, I think most of these drivers do not touch pit road. I think they're going to stay out. I don't think they're going to have much of an issue.
Oh, interesting. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this was definitely on the schedule as intended to be a fuel limited race, but certainly plenty of opportunities to take it easy on the throttle out here, as you're seeing a lot of opportunities for lift and coast as well. And there is a little battle going on right now. That is Andy Kosick, I think, looking ahead at Gabaldon there, heading down into turn 3. And man, Andre, I don't know if you have a lot of seat time out here, but I have way too many laps out here to be as slow as I am. But that turn 3, that uphill right-hander, is an absolute bane of my happiness here in Austria. It's so hard to get it right. It's easy to overcook the entry and easy to overslow. Tough to put the power down. And did I mention that these cars don't have traction control and the track is a little bit wet right now?
Yeah, not having the TC is a very big deal. I mean, it makes these cars a little bit squirrely on a dry track, and then you put them in conditions like this, and well, they're definitely going to be on the struggle bus. Now, good news is, as we can kind of see from this onboard, I think the weather might be lightening up just a little bit. The rain may let up as this race goes on. They can maybe start to form a bit of a dry line, but at the current moment, it is still raining, and even if it does stop raining right this second, the track will not be fully dry by the end of this race. There will always be a little bit left over. We do have a taker down pit road. Not sure if this is voluntary. I believe, oh no, this is Neil Kemp. He did have a black flag. I noticed that earlier on the grid. So something, maybe an off track, a slowdown that was not served, but he is down pit road, and it is going to be a long sit and wait, 40 seconds thus far. Back up front, this is P2 David Fernandez, who just got around Ron Wolf. And then, yeah, we've got quite a lot going on. Fabian Dwyer back to 13th. I don't know if he came down pit road or what exactly happened there, but that was race leader. We got a replay of what happened to Fabian. Take a look at it on the SMB slow-mo replay. Just use that curb up. You called it, JR. You touched those curbs. Around you go, and he did the right thing. He waited for everybody to get by, but so much time lost. That is devastating.
Yeah, that is very tough. This is a very tough corner in the dry, and very common to take a little nibble of the inside apex there, but just can't do it in the rain, as we had said. So Swayer kind of falling back into his dry racing habits, and that cost him hugely right now. And where is he sitting right now? All the way down to lucky P13. So he ate 12 positions right there with just the slightest little bobble. And yeah, interesting about the weather. And I don't believe that we have the capability to put radar up for you, but it is definitely getting brighter out there. The rain has stopped. And I'll tell you, Andre, your bet about pitting maybe the odds may be changing here because all these drivers are on wets right now, and if a dry line forms, if I was in the back of the pack somewhere, I would think about popping in for rubber to see if I could take advantage of that dry line down the stretch. Plenty of time left here for the track to dry, about 28 minutes remaining, so that could be something that we see here if the rain stays away.
Yeah, if it dries up enough, you're exactly right. I mean, the time you can gain by getting on dry tires and getting out there and hugging that dry line wherever it forms is pretty significant. But sorry about that, slight distraction. In the meantime, Scott Brooks on the outside making a move for P27. That is gonna be on Brandon Smith. And while these guys navigate around, I do want to give a quick shout out to league sponsor D-Nut Stuff. Just give me one moment here as I...
And a pretty nice looking move, I got to say really quickly while you're taking your notes. That outside move into turn 1 against the inside defense here at Red Bull Ring, eminently doable. Very easy to break deep around the outside there, and the fact that that driver, whose name has already escaped me, was able to get side by side there in the wet. Some great driving right there. I don't think he's able to make the pass stick, but that is definitely a Red Bull Ring merit badge if you can beat that inside defense with the outside move into turn 1. Love to see that.
Yes, you do. Apologies for the distraction. The wonderful world of having pets that are getting into things they should not. In the meantime, D-Nut Stuff. You've got the rig, the screens, and the passion. But when you're diving into the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, Do your pedals feel like a world-class GT3 car or a toy? It's time to upgrade your immersion with D-Nut Stuff. We specialize in high-performance sim racing mods designed to give you the trail-breaking precision and throttle control you've been missing. From our legendary DNX and HVD pedal kits to custom spacers and clutch mods, we build gear for racers who demand more than stock. Whether you're a casual Sunday driver or a daily iRacing grinder, our kits for Fanatec, Simpson, and Huskenfeld pedals are engineered to help you find those extra tenths of a second. Stop settling for good enough and start hitting your marks with total confidence. D-Nut Stuff Sim Racing Gear. Serious mods for serious racers. Visit dnutstuff.com. Dial in your rig today. Now, as I was giving off that little bit of a sponsor read there, we had quite a bit of action there on track. Seems to happen that way every time, but boy, these guys are finding ways to make it exciting.
Yeah, the track drying out a little bit, it appears, and you saw Bast getting the wiggles down, and as the track dries, these drivers getting a little bit more brave on the throttle, and you're seeing what the result is. That live axle on the back of this Mustang 500 is getting lively, and the drivers getting lively as well, testing each other side by side. There's some more side-by-side action into the top of the S's right there as we watch Ott being pursued by Mark Cohn, Swayer sniffing around there as well, and Matt Thompson. All those cars covered by a second or so. So things getting awfully racy here, about 25 minutes remaining, and my gosh, I wish yeah, and just to follow up with that little ad read that we had for DNUT, we actually have a little reel from them, so let's take a listen to DNUT Stuff.
Is the brake on your new pedal set not meeting your expectations? If so, let DNUT Stuff transform your braking experience. DNUT Stuff has brake mods for Thrustmaster TLCMs, Husingveld Sprints, Mosa SRPs, Fanatec CSL Elite V1 and V2s, SimJack Pros, and UT sets. We are always working on adding new pedal sets and more, so check back often.
Josh, have you got a track? All right, we are back, and yeah, that DNUT Stuff, I actually ordered from them. They have a heel pad that I ordered from my rig. We're going to be taking delivery on that here shortly, so pretty stoked about that. Taking a look at the weather right now, showing overcast, still showing 79% chance of rain, but definitely drying out here. You can see a dry line beginning to form, and lots of time. And man, you know, I have been in this position before at the real track and in sim, especially in enduros where they like to throw in rainstorms. If you can be the brave one that puts on the slicks fastest, slicks are faster than treaded tires when the track gets down to lightly wet, as it's termed by iRacing. So I think we're getting very close to that right now. I don't know what the radar has in store. If there's another band of moisture coming through, you might not want to, but if we are done with rain and the track is drying, my gosh, it brings to mind how many classic races have you seen Indy cars at Barber, where there's kind of a nut check, a bravery track, who's going to go on slicks faster, and so the first guy on slicks starts to put down some times, and actually see somebody rolling through pit lane right now. I don't see a tire compound change, though. There could be some penalties there, and I'll tell you, Andre, we have not mentioned that Red Bull Ring is an absolute trap for 1Xs. They build up so quickly around here. You've got to drive at the absolute limits, testing the boundaries on every lap, and just a couple of bobbles and you can rack up those 1Xs absolutely at breakneck pace, and we could be seeing some penalties. I think we already saw at least one black flag out there. And taking a look at Labano right now, looks like he maybe has taken a splash. Interesting. Is that Labano we're watching roll out? You know, he may have had a stop and go there. I'm showing him stationary for 13 seconds. I guess he could have been taking a splash of fuel, but no tire change there. So mystery what Labano was doing down pit lane right there. But in any event, yeah, I absolutely love changing weather in a longer race. It really gives the driver something else to think about, and the viewers something else to enjoy in terms of strategy.
Yeah, rain in general is just an absolute ton of fun. And as for the viewers at home, you can see what tires these guys are on. If anybody does decide to jump onto dry tires at any point, which I think it is far too early for at this current moment, but you never know as the race progresses, that little icon next to their name will change. Everybody currently on wets, including Chuck Lamano, who did come down pit road. And I do believe you are right, JR. That was a bit of a fill up. He did have a black flag. I noticed it on the scoring and timing, but sometimes, if life throws an egg at your face, you make mayonnaise, and he took the fuel and decided, you know what, if anything happens, we're good to go on fuel at the very least. So there he goes. Now, kind of following along with Mark Cohn just outside the top 10, here comes Fabian's wire down pit road. I believe at this point, everybody going to be staying on these wets, even pit road. A lot of spray up off that car. And, in NASCAR, we've got a rule about how many stalls you can drive through. And, well, he just drove through about 132, but luckily that is legal here in road racing, it would seem. I don't think we're going to see do the jack stands go up even. They're not going up yet. And this could be, I can't imagine wanting to stay on the same tires unless you want the heat. I guess he does. He wants the heat of the tires, and away he goes.
Yeah, interesting. And one thing that that fuel limited races with pit stops can throw in, of course, is the undercut. If you're in traffic that you don't want to deal with and want to get out in some clear air, that's certainly a valid strategy. And we could be seeing a little bit of that, but gosh, I think going in early and for an undercut may end up biting some of these drivers if we do end up seeing some dry tires before this one's over. Only 20 minutes in right now, out of 40. We're at the halfway point, and definitely can see a dry line beginning to form here. It's nice and bright out there. The rain has stopped, but again, I don't have access to what the radar is looking like right now, and there could be more rain coming, and we will learn about that together on screen. But fascinating stuff right now.
Joe Sacchetti currently inside the top 10, the only amateur inside the top 10. You got to look way down the running order for his next competition for P1 in that grouping. Brandon Carl going to be in P24. That would be second for his division. So huge differential if Joe Sacchetti can just kind of run his lines and get the car home clean. Looking like a pretty solid chance at a division win, but getting home clean is sometimes tough in the dry, let alone here. We don't want to take anything for granted. We don't want to count our eggs before we had. I don't know why we're talking about eggs. I'm talking about eggs so much. Must still be hungry. But we do not want to count them before they hatch. Ron Wolf was running inside the top 3 down pit road. He went. It was 12-3, so no tires there, just staying on the warm, worn, wet tires. And away he went with fuel. So I guess you're right, JR. I was wrong. They are taking fuel, not saving as much as I thought.
Yeah, and we didn't have the fuel numbers. The what was it? The Mosport race was very, very tight. That was when somebody was able. The league admin set the fuel load. It may have been completely, inconceivable to go without stopping this time. But good spot on Sacchetti there, running in P8. He has a 40-second lead. Sacchetti definitely singing in the rain in Austria.
That he is, and the Challenger division not so separated. Charlie Hosey only has about a second and a half, give or take, over Mark Cohn. So those two kind of duking it out for a division win. Dehano, too, not far behind Mark Cohn either. Those two pretty much nose to tail. So as far as the Challenger division goes, there is no room to breathe. They are duking it out. The pros make up the entire top 6 with, by the way, David Finch up 4 from where he qualified. Last time we looked at him, he was running P8 all the way up to 6 now, so still slowly gaining position. We'll see where he can wind up by the end of the night, but following along now with Mark Cohn. And that is Dan Ott right behind him in the 29 machine. Just kind of following along, trying to keep his nose out of the spray, keep the windshield as clear as he can get it. Wipers are on Mark's car. I don't think I see them on Dan's car, oddly enough, so maybe a bad time to get into a session, JR, and realize, oh man, I didn't have a button for that.
Yeah, and as you can see there, the liquid sunshine is falling again. So the rain falling again at the Red Bull Ring. And tell you what, look at that timing tower. Look at all those green numbers. There are some huge movers here in the rain. As you see Bast push past Fernandez there and take back that P6. Bast is up 6, Belling up 8 now as makes a move just as I'm talking about him. Sacchetti up 7, Mark Cohn up 9, Gazenda up 13. So the rain here at Red Bull Ring is really separating the wheat from the chaff in terms of the folks who prepared. And it's not just preparing to handle the way the car drives differently on wet asphalt. We're actually talking about driving on different lines. A big washout there. That is Hosey flirting with the kitty litter. And my goodness, that is going to let Cohn through. And that lets Sacchetti through. Cohn sniffing around there as well. Very, very tough spot. That downhill off-camber right-hander Roush corner is super tough in the bone dry and even tougher here in the rain. So some great driving, some great dicing going on as we watch that little train. That is Sacchetti from Cohn, from Hosey, from Ott. That is all for P7. All 4 of those cars separated by 1 second, and things getting spicy here in Austria.
Well, that train of cars was almost looking like the Aston Villa train disaster because Charlie Hosey was leaning on the quarter panel of Mark Cohn. I thought for sure somebody was going to be going around right there. That's what I was reacting to. Somehow they kept it under control. Another taker down pit road, David Fernandez in the 09. Gonna get that thing fueled up, and it is evident to me, as we've seen car after car come down pit road, the heat in the tires is paramount. Forget taking new tires. You do not want to go out there on cold wets. At least these guys don't. Out and away he goes 13.6 in the pits. So seems to be the average, give or take, around about 13 seconds for the fuel that they need. And then away they go. Fabian Zweyer still 13th position. He's going to cycle out just a little ways, I think, behind Fabian Zweyer, or behind David Fernandez. Not quite going to get to him. Meanwhile, here is another car cycling out of the pits. That is going to be, I think, Dan Ott in the 29, and side by side, number 99. A little bit squirrely, but able to gather it up behind him. Got a few cars that have, I think, both had off-track excursions. Gabaldon in 199. We've seen him out in the grass doing some mudding, and then we got Levi Powell here right behind him. And we talked about the qualifying. Merle Eschman has passed, I think, 13 or 14 cars since the start of the race. He's got to feel like he has passed the entire grid, but he's still in 21st. So that is why qualifying is important. You can put in all the work in the world. You can work your tail off, but in a grid this size, at a track like this, sometimes getting up to the front on pace alone is kind of an insurmountable task. So a lot of these guys up front, they're the ones that qualified there. Casey getting out of the pits. Now we do have a replay of Casey. Already got some damage on the front. Could be an overslow, but clearly that Mustang has been through a thing or two. I don't think the hood being crinkled up on both sides is very aerodynamic, but I'm no expert.
Yeah, and oh my goodness. Okay, so that Frito sport car struggling to get around the track, and maybe struggling to keep that car clean, obviously. And as Jeff Schnackle pulls into pit lane from the lead, and it almost looked like that car was on jacks for a moment, but no tire change. But you can't talk about Schnackle without thinking about snacking. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Chiba Hut. We've all been there. We're staring at a menu of sad, cold corporate sandwiches and thinking, there's got to be something better than this. And at Chiba Hut, we've been flipping the bird to the status quo since 1998. We're not just making sandwiches, we are curing the munchies with the dankest toasted subs on the planet. From our signature White Widow to the Cali Mist, every sub is homegrown, toasted to perfection, and served up in a joint when you can actually relax and you need to kill that cotton mouth. Well, we've got local craft beers on tap, plenty of Kool-Aid to keep you hydrated. Whether you're stopping in or flying it to your door, we've got exactly what you need to stay stoked. Chiba Hut Toasted Subs. Swing by our shop in your area or order online. Toasted since 1998.
Ed Santinelli got real close to Chuck Labano there. He was on the binders, and thankfully the car did well up in time. Sometimes in these conditions, you want the car to slow down, you want it to stop, and you do everything you can, but it just doesn't cooperate. And that was a near incident there as we work our way into this double right-hander. They get a little bit loose, snap to the left, and get it corrected, and away he goes. That's going to give Chuck Lamano a little bit of grace period there, a little bit of space between the cars, luckily, and more down pit road. Race leader Andrew Bailing, as well as Jay Bass, going to come down pit road. I can never get these two. I always get them confused, and then they got to do this where they just come in side by side. So I guess it doesn't matter which name I say, they're both there. David Finch getting in his stall there, but looks like it was Jay Bass who missed his stall. Not Jay Bass, I'm sorry, Bailing who missed his stall. I can never get them right. They're too similar.
And there's a car going up on jacks, and I gotta say, just during that short sequence, saw a couple of Mustangs go into reverse on pit lane, which you never want to see. And pro tip, kids, if pit stops are going to be important in your race, which they always are, practice those pit stops, practice your pit entries wet and dry. We just saw a couple of folks losing big chunks of time there, but our top 7 before that sequence that you just saw had not been in the pits yet. Now it looks like everybody has been in from top to bottom, and it is up front. It is Bast from Schnackle from Wolf, and somehow during that pit sequence, maybe Schnackle, one of the ones who missed their pit stall, but Bast sitting in the lead right now, +7 for Bast after qualifying in P8 with a 1.3 second gap back to Schnackle, and Schnackle has got a short gap back to Wolf, so Schnackle from Wolf from Matt Malone to get a little train forming for P2.
That you do, and right now I gotta wonder what the conditions are like exactly. Is Matt Malone getting a little bit squirrely there, trying to make a move on Ron Wolf? Because just from the camera perspective, I don't know if you're noticing this, JR, but it looks like it is coming down in buckets now. It had let up a little bit, then it started to pick back up, and now, even as far as the broadcast is concerned, visibility is going down. So it has got to be a torrential downpour for these drivers, and they're still trying to kind of work it out, but Jay Bast out to a 1 second lead. A little bit of lap traffic up the road, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. Just one single car. It'll be a while before they get there. Only 9 minutes left in this race. Really closer to about 8.5. I'll tell you what, Jay Bast was so good in pit road. The question is, as Randall would always ask in this situation, was he too good on pit road? Does he have the fuel to get to the end, or did he just take as little as humanly possible, and now he's got to keep an eye on that gauge?
Yeah, absolutely. And his stationary time, about 2 seconds less than Schnackle. He was stationary for 11.2, Schnackle 13.7. So is he flirting with disaster in terms of fuel? And yeah, you're absolutely right. It is raining cats and dogs right there. You see the poodles building up next to those curbs, and my fantasies about some kind of tire strategy down the stretch right out the window. It is pouring here in Austria, and Bast in the catbird seat now, about 7 minutes and change remaining. But look at Schnackle reeling him in. Schnackle wants to schnack on that rear bumper. He's got that gap down to about 7/10. Wolf is right there as well, and Malone. So we've got a 4-car battle for the lead here, potentially down the stretch in the rain. And my goodness, you know, you take a tiny little risk, make a tiny little mistake on a dry track, you do the same thing in the rain, and it's amplified tenfold. So let's see whether or not these drivers want to roll the dice, make something happen, or if they're just going to settle into the positions that they own right now, take their points, and get out of here in one piece.
Well, not only is it a 4-car race for the Pro Division win, but back here we got 3 cars competing for the Challenger. Dan Ott in the number 29 leading the way thus far, but I'll tell you, Mark Cohn is going full send. Watchman is watching that 29 in the windshield, reeling him in little by little, and he's bringing Charlie Hosey in tow. Charlie having a really good night tonight. He's had a bit of a rough season, maybe a rough season and a half, but having really good pace tonight. He seems to like this rain. You like to see it as the resident Charlie Hosey truther. I believe this guy's got it within him to win if he can just have the cards fall in his favor. So we'll see, but they are all closing up. I mean, when we started following this battle, we could barely get them all in the same camera shot. And now it's a lot tighter than it was behind them. That is Michael Brennan, a pro, and then the amateur leader at the moment, Joe Sacchetti, making the move maybe for P12. He looked to the inside, thought better of it, said, no, sir, I'm not going to risk hitting that curb, because that curb is exactly what ended Fabian Zweier's hopes of winning the race. He's currently running P8, but he had led really the first, I'd say, 20% of this event. So one little mistake, like you said, JR, you take just a little bit too much risk, take a line that's a little bit too tight, it could be game over.
Yeah, Sacchetti's crew chief right now screaming into his microphone, do not do anything. You're in first place by a mile. I mean, it's more than a minute gap, it looks right now. My math skills very poor, especially at this time of night, but Sacchetti has P1 absolutely in the bag and just needs to keep it on the track. Fighting against somebody in another class, utterly pointless. So I know it's hard to tell a racer not to take advantage of a gap that opens up in front of him, but Sacchetti needing to kind of take a breath here and not fight down the stretch. Only 5 minutes remaining in this one, riding along with Schnackle now. Schnackle has definitely reeled in Bass, got it down to about 0.4, and the last trip they took down that pit straight, the slipstream really went to work. Pretty long straightaway right here. Bass might have overslowed just a little bit, a little cautious on the green stuff, and that is why Schnackle snacking on the AstroTurf, and you saw that cost him a full second there. And look at Ron Wolf, says, Jeff, you really shouldn't have rolled the dice right there. I'm going to make you work for it. Here's that outside move I love, and bang, Wolf go way wide, and that is not only an off track, that is a likely slowdown, four wheels out past that yellow curb there on turn one. So things getting a little crazy. You see the flag, that is a slowdown for Wolf. Wolf not backing out of it though. Maybe he wants to get in front of Schnackle and then serve the slowdown in front of his competitor, which would be quite cheeky, you might say. And you see Schnackle unable to put the power down. That's so common on that uphill turn 3. You get a better drive wide, you think you got something done, and my goodness, you can't get the power down. You get smoked by the guy with the worst line, and Wolf, I believe, has burned off that slowdown in front of Jeff Schnackle, and Schnackle is gotta be fuming right now.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating, and I think you can see it in his driving. He really hadn't been making very many mistakes, but then after that first mistake, it all sort of snowballed, and he has just been really struggling there this last lap and a half. Now, riding on board with Charlie Hosey, who's also, I think, climbing aboard the struggle bus. He's been getting sideways. He was kind of reeling in Mark Cohn. Now he is 2 seconds back from that little group of cars, and having to play a little bit of defense with Joe Sacchetti. We'll take a look at the SMB replay, see exactly what happened here. I don't think it was anything major, just a bit of a wiggle. Yeah, 4-tire slide, had to get out of the throttle. Had to be very careful on that curb. If he had accelerated over that thing, that would have been turning into a Beyblade. I think he would have been spinning around. So, luckily, able to gather it up. But Schnackle, I'm hearing, has another off track, but so does the car ahead. It's going to be a battle for P2. Meanwhile, Jay Bast offered the 2-second lead, but Matt Malone watching him go too wide into this uphill right-hander, and he is not going to give him any grace period. He is going to stay on the bumper, drafting him into the turn, using the curb. We're going to go maybe 3 wide. Oh, he is getting aggressive. And Ron Wolf, he's got ice in those veins. He's not even sweating there. He just let him do what he was going to do, pulled back out front.
And Malone showing something here. And, you know, we know Malone from his YouTube channel and from his kind of colorful show that he puts on, but he has got some racecraft, as you saw him stuff it down the inside of turn 1 and makes the curb work for him in turn 3. Unbelievable as Malone moves up right now. And Malone, I think he has a crack, frankly, at P2 right now. With a lap or 2 remaining. Malone lighting the wick right here. We're going to see the onboard right now of Malone banging over that banging over that anti-cut curb. Anti-cut for mortals, not anti-cut for Malone. And you see that Mustang kind of floating over that huge bump like Grandma's Cadillac. If that was a GT3 car, it would be facing the wrong direction right now. And that's just one of the nuances of driving these Mustangs. And here is, I think, a replay of Schnackle testing the grip way outside there. Oh, my goodness. Schnackle getting a little squirrely, getting a little wild here down the stretch as his frustration is coming to a boiling point. He's dropped all the way down to P5, a loss of 3 positions. And look at the cars in front of him. Bast up 7, Wolf up 4, Matt Malone up 4, and Bailing up 7. So, man, oh, man, the Rain Men have come to party here tonight, and here comes Bass, undoubtedly going to take the white flag right here. And look at that crowd behind. What a train for P2. That's Wolf from Malone, from Bailing, from Fernandez. You just saw Fench get by Schnackle as Schnackle loses another one here. So the wheels falling off for Schnackle, and I have a feeling that there could be a little bit of action here, Andre, on the last lap.
Taking a look at the replay on board with Fench, couldn't really see anything. Just see Schnackle getting off track and then able to motor it up, get around him on the low side, and then no issues there. But you're exactly right. We could see some action here on the final lap. Bit of a step out there for the race leader. Rear end wanted to get a little loose. There it goes. Let's see, which one is that? That's Bailing. It gets a little bit loose. David Fench going to go on by, as well as a couple others. So Bailing looked really good earlier in the night, but I mean, it's like nobody wants to win this race. Everybody that was doing good at the start is not doing so well now. And then you got Jay Bast and Ron Wolf, who just kind of came out of nowhere. But for P6, Schnackle still driving hard, took a wider entry, should get a bigger run out of the corner, theoretically, and he does, but nowhere to really take it. Not big enough to get to the inside or to the quarter panel and really force the issue. But if he breaks a little bit later into the corner like that, he might get to the quarter panel. As a little bit further up towards the front of the grid, Matt Malone in 3rd place. This battle for the podium is not done. This is the final lap of the race, so this next set of corners is going to be crucial for these guys. Meanwhile, it is only going to be a couple more corners for Jay Bast. He is looking Jay fast, and he is going to try to get a league win here in 2026. One more right-hander, and that driver is out to the races. What a good run. What a good drive out of that guy. I mean, he is here week in and week out, grinding away at it, and today it finally pays off in the rain, no less, showing off the skills. It takes a lot to drive these machines in these conditions. And to quote JR, did I mention no ABS?
That's right. We don't need no stinking nannies. We don't even need independent rear suspension on these Mustangs. We got no TC, no ABS, and over 300 horsepower in the rain here. And you really saw some outstanding driving, and it is Bast from Wolf, from Matt Malone, as that kind of mayhem there at the end of that battle for P2. No changes down the stretch here. Surprisingly enough, I thought for sure maybe Schnackle was going to try to stuff it inside of turn 9. You see it here occasionally at Red Bull Ring. Not a high percentage move, but Schnackle kind of driving like he didn't have anything to lose there down the stretch, and costing him in a couple spots. And was that a car running out of fuel right there? I think we just saw a position change right there at the line. But yeah, pretty good action here at the Red Bull Ring. We're going to have the results from all 3 categories for you here shortly. But tip of the hat to Jay Bast, and hopefully he will be in the commentary booth. I'd like to ask him about his fuel and pit strategy. As I said, 2 seconds quicker than Schnackle in the pits, although Schnackle shot himself in the foot down the stretch, so that 2 seconds wasn't critical, but it certainly put Bast in the lead and put the pressure on those behind to try to reel him in, and nobody could. So it is going to be Jay Bast as we watch the last couple cars come across. Here comes Scott Brooks. That's going to be a P4 for him in the amateur. You got Blair coming up behind, and Andy Bell and Eschman will be the last couple cars across the line. And we'll take a quick look out here, pop out in the green room and see if anybody is waiting to come in. Yeah, it looks like we do have Bast and Sacchetti. So let's go ahead and when we have a second, get those final results up for you. Okay. All right. Session still underway. And there we go. Ballant showing what he thought of this festivities here. And that's actually the old, I mentioned the old Österreichring. It was much longer and took off at the end of the straightaway into the forest there, and kind of a large loop. And you saw a Mustang being destroyed right there. But yeah, we've got a couple of the winners here waiting for us in the interview room. And here are your results. It is Jay Bass from Ron Wolf, from Matt Malone, your podium in Pro and overall. David Fernandez in P4, Fench in P5, Andrew Bailing, followed by Jeff Schnackle, who, my goodness, really had something going, ended up down 5 to finish in P7. Then Fabian Zweyer. Dan Ott is in P9 with Cone behind that, is 1 and 2 in your Challenger class, and that will get you through the top 10.
Looking back from the top 10, P11 going to be Charlie Hosey. Michael Brennan going to be P12. Joe Sacchetti gets the amateur win with a 13th overall. Really good run for that driver. Matt Thompson going to be P14. Chuck Lomano had a bit of an incident-filled night, but still top half of the field. Not a bad comeback for the Canadian. Matthew Gazenda P16. Ed Santinelli going to be 17th. 18th goes to Neil Kemp. And if you look back to 19 and 20 respectively, that is where you're going to find Levi Powell and Brian Kennedy.
And then it's Gabaldon in P21. Andrew Bray will be in Aaron Bray in P22. Then Mark Royce. Brandon Carl is your distant P2 behind Sacchetti in the amateur class. He's up 11. Then Brandon Smith in P25. Colin Olson will cross the line in 26. Scott Brooks, 27. David Blair in 28. Andy Bell in P29. And Merle Eschman in P30.
And to round out the rest of the field, it is going to be Taylor Ballant, P31. Tom Wendt, he started 37th, finished 32nd, so moving up in the grid. John Casey, P33. Andy Cossack going to be 34th. Jeff Andrus, P35. Mike Neekum, 3 laps down, had some sort of event, takes him to 36th. Freddie Weaver, P37, and Kevin Parrish did not hit the grid tonight. He is 21 laps down in 38th. Now, I do believe it is time, JR, for you to have a word with probably a very excited Jay Bass.
All right. I yanked you right out into a new reality, Jay. And Jay Bass tonight was for way fast. You're up 7 positions to take the win here, and fueled in part by a very short pit stop. You took about 2 seconds out of Schnackle during that pit sequence. So my first question to you is, what were you doing with your fuel strategy? Were you saving on your first stint there that enabled you to get in and out of the pits and jump Schnackle?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because the little fuel calculator was telling me I was 2-0, all good to take the short fuel, and then once I came out after taking that fuel, it was telling me I needed just a little drop more. So the fuel saving only started on the second stint there, which was a bit unfortunate, but we held on to it. Oh my gosh, I'm still crying. That was amazing.
Yeah, epic race. And I got to say, that is my absolute favorite feature of Crew Chief. I love rolling out of the pits, and the first thing he says is, fuel's going to be tight. You're going to have to save. And like, you know what, man? You just had the flipping thing in the car. You could have put more in. That was your chance.
There was something you could have did about this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so much fun. But me and Schnackle were going back and forth, where he was taking 3, I was taking 2. You know, it was going to work. But yeah, I didn't realize it was that big a time difference in the pit stop. So when I rolled out in front of everybody, yeah, I was stoked. I was on cloud 9, and yeah, just tiptoeing around in these wet conditions. Like I was saying before, like I love Red Bull Ring, and it's even in the driest of conditions, and it usually shakes out like an oval. You know, you got to keep staying that draft train. But like in the wet, it just turns into a different animal. Every third lap, the S's in turn 5 and 6 was a totally different line, and just hanging on to that, oh man, just full focus the whole time. I'm so stoked with this win. This is so hard.
Well, I'll tell you, Jay, I can hear the juice in your voice right now, and congratulations on really an epic drive here at Red Bull Ring. So as we concluded, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
I want to give a shout out to all the Frito Sport guys. Ed for taking over this league. Thank you. Matt Malone, I'm so glad I passed him on track. That was my biggest goal of the race. ittybitbetter.com, EV Part Picker, all the sponsors that keep the lights on. Thank you to you guys at SMB. I hope I didn't miss anybody. TW3 Liveries, Tom Went for painting these beautiful cars. Oh man, I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but gosh, that was so awesome.
Well, and the weather gods too were definitely appeared to be on your side, Jay. So yeah, thanks so much for stopping by and sharing your insights into the race. Congratulations again, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
All right, cheers. All right, that was your delighted, elated, and stoked winner, Jay Bast. And let's see who else we have here. Why don't, Andre, you question Mr. Sicchetti about his dominant win in the amateur ranks?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing pretty good, but you were doing better. We're a little bit crunched for time, so I only really get to ask you one question. So I'm going to ask you, what were you doing while you were just driving away 18 miles ahead of second place? Were you just kind of on your phone, checking Instagram, hanging out? I mean, you certainly weren't being pressured.
I think a good word for it would be sweating, regardless of my my lead. But dude, that was great. I'm real happy with that. That's for sure.
Yes, sir. I'll just ask you real quick: is rain racing something you've done a lot of? I mean, it sure seems like it.
Well, it's crazy because best 2 races I've had, I think, have been in the rain here at AMS. So that's really cool. Last season, our rain race, and this season I did really well too. And hey, I guess so. Maybe that's my thing.
Seems to be. All right. Well, before we let you go celebrate, any shout-outs you'd like to make for your win?
Guys at Frito, you guys, of course, and all my buddies watching. Thanks, guys.
All right, Joe. Thanks for your time. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.
All right, that is Joe Sicchetti, your amateur winner, and we'll go ahead and last but not least bring in Mark Cohn. Pushed his way into the top 10 by moving up 8 positions to finish second in the Challenger class. So Mark, the first thing I want to congratulate you on is kind of stringing a couple of good races together and pushing your way into the top 3 overall on the season. You had some bad luck early, clearly had pace, but couldn't put a race together. Put a couple together. Now you're sitting in P2. Your P2 finish here will help you even more in the points. So tell us, how do you go about bouncing back from a disappointing couple races out of the gate here this season?
Man, just hard work trying to improve on where you made mistakes and just hoping and praying it holds on. That was one of the toughest races of my life. Did not think I was going to pull that off, but somehow, some way, it just worked out. Charlie O.C. drove a hell of a race, and Joe Sicchetti in the AMS class as well, man. They were flying.
Yeah, and actually, tip of the hat to the entire field. Very, very difficult conditions on a very challenging track, and very few incidents. Kept it pretty clean, and so a really good show that you all put on in AMS. So tip of the hat to everyone, and definitely to you for that P2. So you must be feeling pretty good about your chances to snag a season podium or even season championship. Like I said, we've seen your pace, and now you're starting to show some consistency. So how are you feeling about the season looking forward?
I'm gonna do my best, but Matt Thompson, my teammate, he's been so consistent that he's gonna be so tough to beat. Like, he won the first 3 races in a row. We know what he's capable of, and of course, I'll do my best, but hopefully it's one of us for Frito Sport.
Yeah, too right. Well, Mark, thank you so much. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, all you guys on Slow Motion Broadcasting, I love watching these races back. Ed and Mike with Frito Sport, the guys that put the league on. Sim Gaming Expo, check that out in September. Do not miss it. It's going to be fantastic. Sim Lab, Sam Maxwell Customs, DeWars Candies and Fine Shoes, Nizumi Studios, everyone that makes this possible. TW3 Liveries, this Biffle paint scheme. I wanted to be like Biff this season. We've done it 2 in a row. Thank you guys. This is absolutely amazing.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for stopping by and sharing your insights on the race. And we will see you and the rest of AMS in about 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Cheers. All right. Well, that is going to conclude our interviews. And while you're sitting there in front of your phone, tablet, computer, or TV, I want to remind you to go ahead and subscribe to Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And speaking of action, tomorrow night, Sim Racers Group Formula 3 will be at the Miami Street Course. Saturday, we'll have Weekend Warriors Formula Vs at Virginia International Raceway. That is going to be an awesome race. On Sunday, XSLR will run GT3s at Sebring International Raceway. And 1 week from tonight, AMS is off, but you can still check out Sim Racers Group Formula 4 with Ken Miller and gang over at Snetterton Raceway. So that is going to wrap it up for tonight. I am J.R. Gregory. On behalf of myself, my partner, Dirk Grandbouche, and our producer, Joshua Wilkie, everyone here at SMB, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll see you back here real soon.